I would rather be a superb meteor streaking across the sky, every atom of me glowing in perfect unison, than a dull and sleepy planet. The function of man is to live, not just exist. I shall not waste my days trying to prolong them. I will use them. This is Life Perfect Square with Edward Durante. I'm going to tell you how you can use your days to their maximum, how to regain that enthusiasm that you had when you were a child. You remember what that was like. You couldn't wait to wake up in the morning to see what was going to happen that day. Every experience was brand new and exciting and had unlimited possibilities. How do we find that energy in today's life? Well, it's not as difficult as you think it is, but it does require some changes in your life. It starts with your thought process. Thoughts have power. Thoughts are silent words that go out into the world and they organize in the universe in a way that mirrors back to you what your thoughts are. If your thoughts aren't exciting, if your thoughts aren't new, you're going to wake up every day and it's going to seem like dragging. Get out of bed. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in the shower. If you're a man, you're going to shave. You put your clothes on. You go to work and you kind of sleepwalk through the day. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know why you're doing it. And you have in the back of your mind all the time that nagging question, is this all there is? I don't think so. You know, man has searched for his meaning, as Viktor Frankl said in his famous book, Man's Search for Meaning. We've been looking at this. These are the same questions that everybody has asked, every single person who's walked the face of the earth. And there have been some 70 billion who have walked this earth. But none of them are you. You are unique. And I think you give up your uniqueness. You don't recognize it. You think you're just another person toiling every day, going through the motions from birth to death, dreams that you had, stowing them away, letting them die all by themselves. That's not the way to live. That's just the way to exist. It's no wonder that people develop all kinds of problems, alcoholism, sex addiction, drug addiction, gambling addictions. It's no wonder. You know, the only way that you can replace a habit is with another habit. James Clear in Atomic Habits said that you can replace bad habits, but you have to have good habits. By the way, Atomic Habits is a book by James Clear, very popular book. It was on the bestseller list for over 50 weeks. And in that book, he mentions atomic habits. Atomic not only means explosive, because good habits can be explosive in your life, but it also means very small habits, very small changes in your habits. Small habits lead to larger habits. You know, I'm reminded of Roger Bannister. In case you don't remember or know who that is, Roger Bannister was the first man, he was from England, first man to run an outdoor mile in under 4 minutes. Prior to Roger Bannister doing this, they thought, this is impossible. It's impossible for a human being to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. In Roger Bannister's times, he was the world champion at that time, they were in the 4:14, 4:15 range, and that was thought to be the limit, the barrier. And so what Roger did, he took and he wrote on a piece of paper 1 second faster, and he put it inside his running shoes. And every time he ran, his objective was just to run 1 second faster. And he did. He went from 4:14 to 4:13 to 4:12 to 4:11 to 4:10 and so on until he got to 4 minutes. And then, by miracle, he ran under 4 minutes. The first and only human being in the history of the planet to run a 1 mile race in less than 4 minutes. And guess what? within a year, more than 6 other people broke that record and went under 4 minutes. It just shows us that we put these limitations on things. We put limitations on ourselves. We put our dreams away too early. I want you to think now about how you were when you were younger. Think about the dreams you had. I don't know, maybe you wanted to be a nurse, or maybe you wanted to be a movie actress, or maybe you wanted to be an opera singer or a ballet dancer, or maybe you wanted to be a Major League Baseball player if you were a boy. Maybe you wanted to be a policeman or a fireman or a politician or a doctor or an attorney. And instead, you have the life that you have today. Why is that? Why didn't you pursue those dreams? Because they became too difficult? Because you attempted to do it and maybe failed along the way? And by the way, I have a hard time with that word failure, because I don't believe you ever fail. I believe you either succeed or you learn. We've all had learning lessons. I'm having them right now, and I have them all the time, and so do you, every single day. The trouble is you don't take the opportunity to see in every learning lesson there's a seed of success. Every learning lesson provides a seed of success. All the people that you meet, they're all individual teachers. They're teaching you something. The people that you like are teaching you things. The people that you don't really know are teaching you things. And the people you don't like, unfortunately, are teaching you things. And if you keep running into the same personalities again and again, you know what? It's a lesson that you haven't learned yet. So instead of getting upset with people when they make you angry or disgruntled or somehow feel uncomfortable, try and imagine what it is that you're supposed to learn from that interaction, from that experience, from that person. All the people in your life are there for a reason. You're pulling them into your life. You pull them into your life, into your orbit, into your atmosphere, just like the power of gravity. And what is that power? The power is your thoughts and your words. Now look, you have to learn to change your thoughts. You have to change your thoughts just like changing the dial on your TV or your radio. I've said this in some of my other lectures where I said, you know what? If you want to listen to country music and you've got a radio, you've got to turn the dial to where they're playing country music. If you want to listen to rock and roll, you have to turn to where it's rock and roll. How about the Easy Rock station? You have to turn there. If you want to listen to talk radio, you have to turn the dial there. So here's the thing. If what's going on in your mind is, oh, I really hate what I'm doing. Oh, this is terrible. I can't wait until this day is over. I really don't like the people around me. I don't like the way they treat me. I don't like the way they interact with me. You know what? You need to change the dial. If you want to be happy and have good thoughts and live in a better place, and by the way, you only live in your consciousness. Your consciousness is where you are. And it's not the past consciousness. Forget about it. It's not the future consciousness. You can make a change for the future, but you can only do that now. Remember, Deepak Chopra had a great quote. He said, "Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow hasn't arrived yet. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present." So use the present. Use that gift. Use the power of now, as Eckhart Tolle would say, because now is the only time that you can make any change, that you can affect anything. And your life, if it's 50 years, 60 years, 80 years, 100 years, no matter how many years and months and days that you live, it's one continuous string of now moments, isn't it? Everything is just now. And if you think about now, and you stay in the now, all those huge problems, the worries that you have, they disappear. What's wrong with right now? Nothing. Yeah. You think about things in the past. This is a terrible practice, and so many people do it. If somebody cuts you off in the morning on the way to work and you get in a screaming and shouting match, maybe some hand gestures, maybe some bad words, you get to work, you come in late, you're in a bad mood, probably don't interact with the people around you very well. And you know what? That interaction is on your mind all day long. You think about it again and again and again. And each time you do it, you put your mind and your body through the same stress. It's as if it's happening again and again and again. A little story about that. These two monks who had sworn a vow of silence are walking along in the village, taking a walk, and they come to a large mud puddle. And in front of the mud puddle is this woman wearing a beautiful full-length white dress. And she stopped in front of the mud puddle because obviously she doesn't know what she's going to do. If she goes in the mud puddle, she's going to dirty her dress. And she's there in thought. And the two monks stop. They look at each other. The one monk picks up the woman, walks through the mud puddle, sets her down on the other side, and waits for the monk that he's with to catch up to them. They walk for about an hour, and finally the other monk says to him, "You know, we've taken a vow of silence, and we're not supposed to interact with other people." And the monk says to him, "Are you still carrying that woman? Because I put her down over an hour ago." This is what we do in our lives. We worry about the petty things that happened to us in the past. We worry about all the things that people did to us, whether real or perceived, and we go over them again and again. We have ourselves a private little pity party, and we walk on, and we keep thinking, "Oh, I should have said this. Oh, if that comes up again, this is what I'll say. This is how I'll get back at him. This is how I'll make things right." Meanwhile, you're missing every now moment in your life. You could be walking in paradise and you wouldn't notice it because your consciousness is not there. And then there's the other part. You're worried about the future. Oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? Oh my gosh. I know things are going okay now, but what if I lose my job? What if I can't pay the mortgage? And then we're out on the street. What am I going to do then? I know how hard it is to get another job. I'm getting older. There's competition in the marketplace. The economy is bad. I'll have to tap into our savings. Before you know it, the savings will be gone. I don't know what I'm going to do. Most of the things that you worry about in the future never come to pass. You're just hypothesizing about what might happen in the future. You can't do that. You can't do it. Happiness, for most people, they seem to think that happiness is like there's a well with happiness in it, and you lower the bucket down and it splashes, and then you pull it back up and you've got a bucket full of happiness. That's not how it happens. The way it happens is that you're doing things in a balanced way, like life's perfect square, which is supported by 4 equal sides. What's on those 4 sides? Health, wealth, love, and perfect expression. We're going to talk about all those things. I'm just mentioning them today because this is kind of an overview. In my future podcast, I'm going to take each one, break them down, give you examples of each. I'll probably quote some famous people, some books that either you're familiar with or not familiar with. You're welcome to pick them up. I'm an avid reader. I've learned a lot of what my experience has been in life through direct experience, some painful, some delightful, but through experience. But I read all the time. I've had many teachers. Everyone I meet is a teacher. Every book I read is a lesson to be learned. And I take things from them. And you should take things from them. By the way, I don't believe that any ideas are original. You realize that in the history of the world, as long as there have been sentient beings, and I mean human beings, thoughtful beings, those with communication, there's an envelope of air that exists in the atmosphere around the earth that makes it possible for creatures like ourselves and others to exist. We breathe in, we breathe out. We breathe oxygen in, we breathe out carbon dioxide. And in this envelope of air are all the molecules that exist in this atmosphere. And all 70 billion people plus that have been on this planet at one time or another have drawn breath from the same air, from the same molecules. Those molecules have gone into their lungs and gone back out into the atmosphere. So right now, you are breathing the same air that religious leaders like Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad all breathed in. You're breathing in the same air that creative people like Leonardo da Vinci, Shakespeare, Plato, Socrates, and others have breathed in and out. Their inspiration is coming in breaths every day to you, every day. All the ideas that they had, all the thoughts that they processed, all the thoughts that were processed by 70 billion plus people on the face of the planet, day in, day out, the thousands and thousands of thoughts that each person had each day of their 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. All those thoughts multiplied by 70 billion people. All those thoughts, all those inspirations, all those dreams, all those agonies, all those tears, all the laughter. It's all there. And you can tap into it. So all these ideas that people claim for themselves are probably just reconstituted ideas from the myriad number of ideas that are floating around in this envelope of air and atmosphere and vibrations that are around us all the time. We never have any new discoveries. We just discover things that were there all the time. Every time we discover something that might be a cure for a disease, it was there. It was there all the time. Thomas Paine, who was a Revolutionary era writer, he wrote, among other things, a pamphlet called The Age of Reason. And in The Age of Reason, in the area of talking about inventions and discoveries, he had a great example. He said, imagine that there's a room, and in this room, this darkened room, is filled with chairs. And you come into the room, it's completely dark, you can't see anything, but you have a candle with you. And then you light the candle, and all of a sudden, you see that there are chairs. There's a chair. There's a chair. There are chairs everywhere. Did you discover the chairs? No, they were there all the time. So it's that way with all of our discoveries, I believe. They're right in front of us. They're around us all the time. Did you ever hear a musician say, I'm a songwriter and I get inspiration all the time. But every once in a while, it's as if the entire song came to me and all I did was write it down. You've heard this, haven't you? You've heard this about poets. You've heard it about other artists. I remember reading about an artist that was a sculptor. And they asked the sculptor, how do you envision this particular sculptor worked in marble? And they said, so when you look at a block of marble, how do you figure out how to chisel out a beautiful statue like the statue of David? And he said, well, it's pretty easy. I just imagine what the finished product is going to look like, and then I take away everything else that doesn't conform to the finished product. It's kind of an interesting way to think about sculpting, isn't it? So here's what you need to do in your life. You need to imagine what your life is going to be like. I want you to go back and resurrect those dreams. Maybe you want it to be a singer. Maybe you want it to be a dancer. It doesn't matter what it is. It's your dream. It's not my dream. My dream is something different. Your dream is something different. The next person's dream is something different. Go back and rekindle those dreams you had long ago when you were passionate, enthusiastic about it. And you didn't think about whether you could do it or not. You just imagined yourself already doing it. As a child, I played Army. I played Cowboys and Indians. I played Superman. I played all kinds of things. Most of the time, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. So I played baseball from the time I was very young until the time I was in college, and even into my 40s, even into the years that I shouldn't be playing baseball anymore, I was still playing baseball. Because in my mind, I was still that young child. I was still learning that game all over again, enjoying it every single day. And it felt great. And it still feels great today. I played softball here recently in the years that I could barely run. My movements were restricted. In my mind, I was still making those great plays. I still had that great arm that I had when I was in my late teens and early 20s. And in your mind, there's still a 17-year-old, a 17-year-old girl, a 17-year-old boy. Doesn't matter what your age is today. Doesn't matter what your job or your profession is. Doesn't matter if you're unemployed. Doesn't matter if you're down and out. Doesn't matter if you've already achieved great success. As a matter of fact, some of the people that I talk to that have achieved the greatest success are the most bummed out and depressed that I've ever talked to. They keep thinking, well, I had this dream when I was first married that, I was going to raise children. My wife and I were going to work together. We were going to buy a house. We'd have nice automobiles and savings, and we'd send our children to college, and we'd take interesting vacations and have great friends, and we'd do all these things together, and I would be very successful. I'd make a lot of money. I'd move up through the ranks. I'd be a manager. I'd be respected by people. And then, in fact, I accomplished almost all those things. And along the way, every time I reached an accomplishment that I thought, oh, this is where I want to go, this is my destination, I would think, really? Is that all there is? Is that all there is? Well, it's not about the destination. The value is in the journey. The destination is just a pause for the beginning of another journey. So right now, today, while you're listening to this, whether you're in your car or you're walking down the street or you're in your office or you're taking a break and you're thinking, I don't know why I'm listening to this guy. I don't know who this is. You know what? It doesn't matter in life the who that's saying it. It's the what. And if the what that I'm saying resonates with you, forget about me as the who. It doesn't matter. I'm glad if I can give you some inspiration, but you have it. You have it within you. I'm just telling you to unlock it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't stow it away. Don't put it in the closet. You need to regain that enthusiasm. One of the ways that you regain and hold on to and maintain enthusiasm is to do something new. Do something daring. Something that you don't know the outcome. Boy, this could be great. This could be a colossal failure. Oh, not a failure. A colossal learning experience. It's the difference between accommodation and assimilation. Accommodation means to learn something new. in the psychological sense. In that same psychological sense, assimilation means to operate on the information that you already have. You just make a little change here and there, but you're basically not doing anything new. Maybe this is a better example. So you have a closet in your house. Man, most of us do. It's stuffed full of all kinds of junk that you put in there. You don't even remember when it was in there. You don't want to go in that closet because it's total chaos. And if you open it, stuff's going to come spilling out and you're going to see things you haven't seen in a long while. You might even be forced to have to clean it up, and it'll be a ridiculous amount of time. So you know what you do? You just operate on what's in that closet. Maybe you can go in there and take something out and use that again. And you keep doing that, but you don't put anything new in there. But in order to accommodate, you have to go in that closet, you have to take stuff out, get rid of it, and make space for the new things that you're going to put in there. This is how your mind works, too. Your mind is like a closet. Most of these closets in our mind are totally jammed up. A lot of meaningless thoughts, a lot of resentments, a lot of past memories, a lot of future worries, and not a lot of good thoughts about how great everything is. You know, you walk outside and birds are singing and the sun is shining and the weather is beautiful, and you walk down, there's a gentle breeze blowing. But you know what? You're still thinking about the argument you had with your husband or your wife that morning, or the kind of things that you're going to say to your boss when you get to work, or the people who work for you, or what you're going to do in the business to make it more profitable. You're just not thinking and appreciating the moment right in front of you. How can you have enthusiasm about that? How can you have enthusiasm about doing the same things all over again and again and again and again? Try something new. Try something that you can't predict the outcome. You know, we seem to think that order in our lives is the number one thing. We don't like to change anything. No, not going to change. You know, it seems to be a symptom of growing older that we get kind of stayed in our ways, or at least it's a cliche. You know, the cliche of the old guy sitting on the porch in the rocking chair, yelling at the guys going by in their car, slow down, get off my lawn. Hey, keep that dog over there. Stop making so much noise. That music's too loud. We don't have to be like that. We can be vital at every time in our lives, and we should be. We should be. You know, there's a study done with some older people, and this was done at Duke University, has a wellness center. And at this wellness center, they had some people there, and they conducted this experiment over a period of time, and they broke them up into two groups. And maybe there was 15 or 20 of these elderly people in each group. I say elderly, you know, 65 and older, all the way up to 85, 90, or even beyond. And in one group, they just, you know, took care of them as they always did. They cleaned up their diet a little bit, and they gave them some exercise and things to do that would improve their wellness, try and improve, you know, if they had blood pressure, high blood pressure problems, or diabetes or something of that nature. Maybe they had a heart condition, and they tried to give them some cardio work that was light, but that would help them. In the other group, they did all the same things, no changes. Here's the only change they had. They had these group meetings, and the instructions for this first group meeting was they wanted them to go through their photo files and bring with them some photographs of times in their life when they were truly happy. Kind of an interesting thing. So they got back together, and they went around the room, and some people brought in photos of their children and grandchildren, times that they got married, times that they had promotions. Maybe they were on vacation, had a good time. Maybe it was a birthday party or some other celebration. Maybe it was an event where they excelled in something and they received an award. Whatever it was, they all had these photos. And what they did, they went around the room and they kind of one by one said, okay, pick one of your photos or two of your photos and tell us about it. And what they did, they picked these photos up and they started talking about them. And, they started out in very quiet and broken tones. And lo and behold, as they continued talking about that time, they put themselves back in that time. They put it in their minds and they felt it in their bodies, and their voices changed and their physical form changed and their energy and their vitality increased and cycled up, and you could feel it in the room. And they did this again and again with this group over and over again. And what they found over an extended period of time, these people recovered from injuries and surgeries so much faster than the other control group. Nothing different. They just talked about times when they felt vital and happy and enthusiastic. This is how you change your life. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter what background you have. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Doesn't matter what your ethnic group is. Doesn't matter what your politics are, or your religion, or anything else. It only matters that you find that enthusiasm. Find what you're passionate about. This is what you're here to do. As Deepak Chopra said in his 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, your only job is to find out that one thing that you can do, and do it in a way that no one else can do, because of the 70 billion people plus that have lived on this earth. Not one of them is like you. And in the future, should this earth continue, and there be another 70 billion on top of that after you, none of them will be the unique being that you are. You need to recognize that. You need to embrace that. Remember that you're unique. Find that unique thing. What is it? What is that passion and enthusiasm that you have? And the way that you'll know is that when you're doing it, time kind of stops. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is. You're not thinking about eating. You're not tired. You don't have anything else to do. You're just doing it. You're in it. And it's in you. And it's part of you. And that's where your passion is. Once you find that passion and you know what it is, then the only thing you need to do is, how does this work in service to others? How does this improve the lives of people around me? If you can find that thing that you are passionate about, that you can do in a way that no one else can do, and you put it in service to others so that they benefit from it, you will not have to worry about making a living, material wealth and possessions. Your health and balance will return to you. Your habits will become good. Your thought processes will be better. The words that are coming out of your mouth will be words that are invested, not spent. As Neville said, everything in your life needs to be an investment. You can't spend it. When you criticize someone, when you get angry with them, when you try and denigrate someone, you're spending your words. When you lift people up, when you give them cheer, when you give them a compliment, which costs you nothing, by the way, when you do that, you're investing. You're investing your words. And by the way, you need to do that with yourself. The words that come out of your mouth about yourself go back into your ears. They go into your subconscious, and over a period of time, they become your belief system. You say, I'm unlucky. I never get any lucky breaks. Nothing good ever happens to me. I could be standing right next to somebody with a winning lottery ticket and mine will be terrible. It doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter around me. Other people have good fortune. Other people get lucky breaks. Other people get opportunities and I don't. And you keep saying those things again and again and again. You're saying the words, they're coming out of your mouth, they're going in your ears, they're going into your subconscious, and lo and behold, they become the self-fulfilling prophecy. And over a period of time, you actually believe those words, and you function on those words. Again, you got to change the channel. You got to start saying things that are positive, that are affirmative, affirmations. You need to be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. It doesn't cost you anything. You see somebody who's kind of down and depressed, and you know that. Give them a smile. It's the least expensive thing you can do. I had a yoga teacher once, and this yoga teacher would come to class and look around the room. There's always somebody who was upset or didn't want to be there or, some other problem. And she would say to the class, it looks today like you're not very happy. Well, you know what? If you don't have a smile, I'll give you one of mine. And she would smile. And lo and behold, the person would smile. Very simple, easy thing to do. As a matter of fact, Deepak says in his book, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, and you're going to see that I'm going to quote various people in various books many times along the way. I hope that's not boring for you. I hope it's helpful, and I hope it'll inspire you to read some of these books because they're really helpful to me, and I'm sure they will be to you. But he said, my parents taught me when I was very young to never go to anybody's house without bringing a gift. You can bring a bottle of wine or a box of candy or flowers or a cake. But if you don't have any money, you can just write a note on a card. You can say how happy you are to see them that day. You can embrace them with a smile and wish them good luck and good health and success. And you can do this with everyone you meet. Get in the habit of doing that. I remember this book, Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn. Lynn Grabhorn passed away maybe about 10 years ago, but she wrote this book and it's kind of influential in a lot of people's lives. And she said, when she discovered this, that you could actually send your good thoughts out to someone, kind of like a love bomb. That's what she called it, a love bomb. She said, when I discovered this, I used to experiment with it. I'd be in a grocery store, and I'd look down the aisle at someone who's not looking at me, and I would just send them a love bomb. I'd get all these good feelings and thoughts and vibrations in my mind, and I'd be looking at them and concentrating like a laser beam and like a tractor beam in Star Trek. All of a sudden, they'd feel this energy, and they'd turn around and look at me. It's like somebody tapped them on the shoulder. They could feel it. Do you know that? Do you know that your thoughts can be felt? Oh, come on. You know this. There are many times when you're in a room and somebody walks in the room and because of their energy or aura or whatever you want to call it, all of a sudden things pick up. You're happier. People are looking around. They're buzzing about it. They change the energy in the room. There are some people, like Mark Twain said, who bring happiness wherever they go. He said there are others who bring happiness whenever they go. Which one are you? Are you able to influence people and make a positive impact? When they leave you, do they think, wow, that was really great. Somehow, I don't know what happened there, but I feel better. I like that guy. I like that girl. I like that woman. I like that man. Or do they say, whew, I gotta take a nap. After listening to all that nonsense, all that negativity about their health problems, their financial problems, their relationship problems, I feel like I was in the room with an emotional vampire, sucked all the energy out of me. I gotta go take a nap. These people too. We all do. So I want to kind of conclude today and wrap up and give you some of these elements that we've talked about today. Life perfect square. You have to have balance, and that balance is health, wealth, love, and perfect expression. And I know you know some of these things and you're familiar with those terms, but we're going to talk about them maybe in ways that you've heard before, but maybe in ways that you've never heard before. I hope that I will give you some new thoughts, some new inspiration. I want you to replace those old bad thoughts with good ones, tune to a different channel. Every time you find yourself in a bad mood, change a channel, flip the switch. It's in your power. You can choose to be happy. You can choose to have good thoughts. You can choose to invest your words. Remember what Neville said. Everything in your life has to be an investment. Can't spend it. When you spend it, it never comes back. The things that will come back to you when you spend are not things you're going to like. When you invest, you know you're putting your power and your energy out into the world. This will lead to good things. You may not see them yourself, but you'll know they're out there. And they will invest in those people that you invest in. They will invest in others. You want to change the world? You have the power to do so. It starts with your own consciousness, with your own thoughts, with your own words, and the people that you interact with every single day. And maybe they will go out and do the same. And that'll become infectious. And before you know it, everyone will be doing it with their friends and their family and their associates and people they meet. And the world will change. Thank you. If you want to learn more, subscribe here. Give me a like.